Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spideydude Experience. Thank you for watching and listening. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our patrons at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. Our Patreon subscribers, Vickman, Greg, Jurgen, and Scott. I want to thank them for their support. If you want to see what all the fuss is about, just head on over to that page, patreon.com/Spideydude Network, for more information. While you're there, you can also head over to Spidey-Dude.com. When you go there, you can check out other episodes of our other shows, such as Amazing Spider-Man Classics. Stay tuned for Season 2, debuting this March, with Hobby and Jack Trillo. Clone Saga Chronicles, I've been doing a look back on that myself. Spectacular Radio, Make My Mayday, and our newest show, Voices from the Area Gargoyles Podcast. We want also to let your voice be heard. We would love to hear from you. And as such, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. If you prefer email, leave an email us an email at SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com. Or if you want to have your voice on the show, leave us a voicemail at 818-925-6631. Just be sure to tell us what show you're calling about and where you're from. We'll play it live on the respective shows. It is the voicemail line for the entire radio network. But you can also leave us a review on your favorite podcatcher. We'll do our best to read it on our future episode here on the show. A mild disclaimer before we get started. Those listening to the audio version of this program, please excuse references to the visual aids and or live comments, as these shows are live streamed on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Spideydude Radio Network, Twitch, and Facebook. And while you're there at Facebook, be sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe. Like us on Facebook and like, share, and subscribe on our YouTube page. Just search in the search box for youtube.com for Spideydude Radio Network there. Thanks for listening and enjoy the rest of the show. Hello, everybody. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host and webmaster of the website Spidey-Dude.com. And this is another exciting episode of Spideydude Experience. I do want to make a show announcement for this show, and it's kind of related to the show, but I want to talk about it for a minute. But before I get started, I want to introduce my panelists. First up, hailing from the great state of Texas as well, he is Neil Bogenreiter, host of Bogenreiter Variety.
I also do Twitch things.
Yes.
That's fun.
Follow him on Twitch at twitch.tv/QuillSniff. Next up, we've got Adam Beyond. Not Neil Bogenreiter, but Adam.
God damn it, Zach! You gotta let me control the graphics. You're the executive producer for a reason.
All right, Adam and Neil, welcome back to the show. Adam, hello, art apologist.
Hello.
This episode, we're going to be covering two issues. We're going to be covering issues 890, excuse me, and the .BEY issue. So if you saw our cover, this is our cover right now. 88.BEY. Starring the Slingers. Slingers back.
Wow, I don't care.
Slingers are pretty cool.
I like the Slingers in the 90s.
The Slingers are cool, but I don't care about them.
So
yeah.
90s. If you're watching this program, and I'm going to talk about it more on our Discord over the next couple of days. Speaking of the 90s and this program, there is a show called Clone Saga Chronicles.
May have heard of it. It's very obscure.
The original flagship show of the network. If the stars align right, which has some waiting on one person to hear back from, our finale will be recorded this weekend.
Ooh.
Woo!
So it's a big deal. If it does not come to fruition, I'll let everybody know, but we want feedback. So if you want to leave feedback, you can always leave an email at clonesagachronicles@gmail.com or SpideyDudeRadioNetwork@gmail.com, one or the other. Any and all feedback will be left If you want to leave that feedback, let us know. I will. Right now, I've got hopefully, and again, this is subject to change. I'm still waiting for some stars to align. Hear back from some people, but right now, I'll have Greg, Gerard, myself. I'm just waiting to hear back for sure from Josh and Donovan. And as soon as I know more, we'll be there. So it is the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. So we'll be talking about the two issues we've not covered that are in the Clone Saga trades.
Is anyone else hearing like hymns in the background, or is that just me?
Whoa! I don't want to hear.
That's cool. Whoa!
So Bakeman is very excited. I have been doing a deep dive listening to CSC, and if you follow me on Twitter, you might have seen me apologize publicly for some of the jokes, because the killing of puppies and threatening to decapitate teddy bears, Siler style, were funny. Those jokes were funny in 2009, 2010. Not so much anymore.
They've lost their charm.
Yeah, we've all grown up quite a bit, I would think, in the last decade plus. It is weird to go back and listen to the shows because I'll be honest, my knowledge of the saga is significantly less. If we don't get it done this weekend, I would like to get it done by April. I'm kind of one mind to think that to kind of maybe wait until Beyond is done, so I can get I can get the guys' thoughts on it, because I know like Greg is reading it, Don I think is reading it, and Josh is reading it as well. Pretty sure Gerard's not, because Gerard just does not read modern comics anymore unless I force him to.
He's smart. He's smarter than all of us put together.
Yeah. Well, like literally, I mean, unfortunately, the only modern comics he's read has been like, God, I think the only thing he read post 800 was Spider-Verse and Clone Conspiracy.
You mean post 700? Because 800 was Goblin.
Yeah, 700.
Goblin.
Yeah, he left, or he quit reading after 700. So, like, other than that, in the past almost 200 issues, he's only read Clone Conspiracy and Spider-Verse. So I can relate to Gerard. I don't read modern either. Finding out what's going on through Modern Spidey is what shows like this is for. Well, I think we've been pretty fair about modern stuff.
We're not mean about it, at least unless we think we deserve it. Unless we think it deserves it, we're not needlessly cruel.
Yeah, it's been something. I mean, don't get me wrong. This show is different because of the cast. You know, any show, it's all about the cast. And we're covering modern stuff as it goes. With CSC, we had the beauty of hindsight for the vast majority of episodes. I think, other than the Scarlet Spider or the Kane Scarlet Spider title, and like Clone Conspiracy stuff. Go to bed, woman. But hi, mom. Hi, baby.
What the fuck? What the hell?
That's my wife. She says hi, friendos.
Hi, friendo.
Sleep. Anyway, but my point being that, you know, with this, we're not covering it in a vacuum. Obviously, it's been Riley related, and there's been a lot of people. Like, there's been a good chunk of people that have been listening to the show. I've seen the numbers. People are starting to tune in to the show, so we've been getting more people. So I'm really, really pleased and excited about it. There probably will be. My goal is to get all the legacy shows on the network here on YouTube by the end of this calendar year, because there's 75 plus episodes CSC. There's 52 episodes of Spidey, and then I think there's 52 episodes of ASM Classics. So, there's a lot of back catalog. I think the other day, I think we got like 300 episodes on the network of podcasts. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Starting a podcast network in 2009, really not in 2009, more, I mean, that's when CFC started, but we didn't start until like 2014. So, like I say, really excited. Part of the reason we're talking about this is because Paul's going to be on the show later. Apparently I am not the boss of Sarah. Bankman says hi to Sarah. And
It is an equal marriage.
Yeah. So, one minor programming note for next episode, we'll probably be talking, if there's some Spidey news on the action figure front, we'll be talking about it. The current retro wave, the one with a Ben Reilly and Symbiote and Armored Spidey wave, is out now. Check your local stores. If you happen to see a Symbiote Spidey, pick that dude up, because that dude's going for like $100 on eBay already. So it's crazy. $20 figure, and people are selling it for almost $100. And it's just because of the new body mold. That's how much people like that body mold. And it's a good body mold. Don't misunderstand. Pretty good thing. So, we did have one news topic we were going to talk about. Neil, tell me about who the Spider Smasher is.
Okay, so Spider-Man's Twitter account released a press thing that wasn't even really a press. It's not even like really news. We're just waiting for Paul to show up. What?
Mr. Comics 89 says, listening to Make My Mayday podcast, loving it. Thank you. I will pass it to Kelly.
So anyways, back on topic.
Yeah.
So imagine Karn mixed with Kindred, and you've got the Spider Smasher. He'll be showing, or they use they them pronouns. They'll be showing up in Miles Morales Spider-Man number 38. As I don't even know what Spider Smasher is.
It's just a tease. Apparently, Spider Talk got more exclusive info.
No, it was just they were just
Not really.
They were just the ones to like catch the wave before sharing with everybody else.
Oh, okay.
They're how I found out about it. So, yeah,
that was gross.
Yeah, but it's how I feel about this Spider Smasher thing. I don't know.
I mean, look, Miles Morales has not been a title that I've been overly excited about, and it's just Ahmed's writing has not grabbed me. I don't feel like I'm the target audience of Miles's book.
Does Miles have a?
Yes, he does. I think he absolutely has a target audience.
I feel like they just. I feel like I remember who said it best, but they said like Miles just exists to like create new villains for royalties. People like the idea of Miles more than they actually like the character.
There's certain stories you can write with Miles now that you couldn't write. To me, Miles existing in the 616, as much as I don't like it in general, because I feel like it diminishes his individuality, the one good thing about it is that you can write the swinging single Spidey that everybody wants and loves to write, and you can write the adult Peter Parker as Peter Parker, and it frees like it doesn't. For so long, Marvel wanted to put Peter Parker in the box of swinging.
I remember. There was a rumor going around. I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a rumor going around the time Civil War II came out that Bendis planned to kill off Peter in Civil War II instead of War Machine, and then Slott of all people talked him out of it.
Well, one, it's repeating the same story over again.
No, I know. I'm just surprised that like Slott of all people had more sense than Bendis. Is what I'm saying.
Well, because Bendis doesn't give a crap about any ramifications, and if they killed Spider-Man off, then Slott was going to have to deal and pick up the pieces. Like for Slott, it was partially self-preservation. Like, what was he going to write?
I know, but I'm just saying that like, Silver Surfer, he could have released that time for once.
That's fair.
Jeez.
But anyways, yeah, I don't care about this. I don't know why are we talking about this. This is a nothing burger. We're just buying ourselves time. Let's talk about the actual comics. Come on, man.
All right. So, we want to pull up the image there, Neil.
What image? Oh, hang on.
What image?
We're gonna start.
Do we want to talk about comics? Do we want to talk about Comixology real quick? Because I got a bone to pick real quick with Comixology.
All right, let's talk about comics.
Okay, so from what I can gather, Comixology I think is discontinuing its desktop version. Like it's I think it's being folded into Kindle.
It still works for me as of right now.
I don't know what the exact details is, but like, turn off your theme song.
That was funny.
That was accidental. It's just blowing up in my face.
Hang on, let me look it up real quick. Comics.
Yeah. So okay. Let's kind of give a little bit of background. So Comixology is a Amazon company. It was bought and purchased by Amazon a number of years back, and they've been slowly but surely integrating it into the overall Amazon footprint. They announced earlier this year that they were going to be making late last year, excuse me, they're going to be making some major changes to the platform, including the shuttering of the desktop version of Comixology. Neil and I probably agree this is a mistake.
If you've taken a look at there's two things to take into consideration here. The first is that comic books have not been optimized for Kindle. If you've read comics on Kindle before, it's a horrible experience either on mobile or on desktop. So this is already a bad choice to begin with. What was the second point? I think I might have bled into my second argument right there.
Well, to me, okay, I have not tried to read it like on the Kindle e-reader ever. I've had an iPad. God. 7 or 8 years now.
But like this weird assumption that Amazon has that people don't want to read comic books on their computers is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, again, that's why I say it's a profound mistake. Taking away a platform. I can understand from a certain level for Mac users, as Mac OS and iOS start more and more to integrate with one another and work well with one another, especially with Apple going into their own silicon, where iPhone and iPad apps work with Macs and Mac apps are starting to work with iPhone apps. You know, they're starting to, but more vice versa. Used to be there was a very clear wall. So as that sphere starts blurring, I can understand it. But for Windows users, unless they're coming out with an exclusive Windows Comixology app in their app store, This makes no sense. One of my biggest gripes, I understand why, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the Epic case with Apple
How they're dealing with like Fortnite, right?
So, yeah, do you know anything about that? Like, do you know, okay, so Apple launches the App Store in 2008. Or, excuse me, 2009.
With the first iPod Touch, right?
It was, iOS 3. Or, excuse me, iPhone OS 2. That wasn't even called iOS yet. So when they launched the App Store, the structure was very simple. 33% of the money was going to Apple, 33% going to the developer, and then 33% was going to...
Hi, Roland.
Yeah, that's what... so it was kind of split up into thirds. So Apple took a third off the top, a 30% cut. Basically, since they created the infrastructure, they're using their servers, they're going to create the cut. So the developer got 60 some odd percent. You know, by the time taxes was taken out, it was like, I think like 40% went to the developers. So Epic pulled Fortnite from their App Store and tried to circumvent the App Store.
Hey, big boy. Big boy, hello. I can hear him whining.
I know. He's probably wanting me to let him out here in a minute.
Also, real quick, Mr. Comics said that he has readings digital comics on his phone. I can't take in the whole page. I don't like this zoom in panel, but I like it though.
It depends. Older stuff I don't like. But newer stuff,
like the newer stuff that's built for this kind of experience, I think is better. But like when you try and when you try and like graft it onto something that was built way before a digital medium was ever thought of.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where the
to me,
tossing the baby out with the bathwater is not a wise
agreed
thought process.
And as somebody that's read comics on a tablet, like an actual tablet, whether it be a Kindle, like the Kindle tablet, not the e-reader, but the tablet, the comic experience was actually pretty decent on a Kindle there. But on a regular Kindle, that is the e-ink version of Kindle, no. So
like on my grandfather's, which is like a 6x4. No shit.
yeah.
Which is a 6x4 black and white with no color grading. It's going to be an awful experience.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. So, all that being said, Apple creates the App Store, but Epic decides that they don't want to sit there and pay the cut to Apple, but they still want to offer the game. Well, they tried to circumvent Apple's terms of service. Apple says no, and they pull their license. So they're in court. And so basically the concept of side loading has now come up, and that is more or less the fight that is occurring in the courts right now. There is some legislation that may allow for side scrolling. The thing is that right now with the Mac, you can do side loading, but they also have the walled off ecosystem too. They have kind of the best of both worlds, but they've never allowed that for the iPhone unless you did a jailbreak.
What was that?
He is telling me he needs to go outside. I'll be right back.
Also, I think a takeaway from this should be don't assume either of these two giant mega corporations are your friend.
That's true.
I think we should scream and piss and shit all over Comixology until they solve the problem. They cut it into this mess. It's their job to fix it.
That is true.
But yeah, what were we saying? I don't know. Oh, they even have a new loading screen. Look at this. I hate this. Remember, giant corporations are not your friend. Oh, I have to sign into my. So okay, I think they've also disabled like a separate Comixology account. What?
So you're probably wondering, what does me talking about the Epic case have to do with Comixology?
Well, it has to deal with like how comics are distributed and how.
Yes, but it's also pertains to Amazon and Comixology. I used to be able to get on the Comixology app and buy my comics on the Comixology app. Now, I have to go in to the Comixology website on my browser, purchase it on my browser.
Also, they've changed the. I just downloaded the most recent version of the app. This UI is awful.
So they did about, I think, 4 years ago. I'm not exactly sure when. And this is me off the top of my head. You used to be able to do it as an in-app purchase, but the thing was that Apple was taking their 30%. So to circumvent
Amazon didn't want to share.
Amazon didn't want to share the money, so Amazon's like, no, because you got to think. I would assume, because physical media, you're paying $2.99 for the book. Your cost is probably about $2, right? There's probably $1 to 50-cent profit margin per issue that you sell if you're the seller. And
that's on a physical copy, right? Or is
right,
that
I'm just talking about physical copies. So that's on the physical store. I don't know what the profit margins are on the digital side. However, I do know that whatever that was, Apple took a third of that profit because of the access to the ecosystem. And so, to circumvent that, basically Amazon forced you to go onto the browser, into the website, buy it on the website, you pay, the convenience fee, and it basically completely circumvented having to use any bit of Apple's ecosystem.
Also, I want to point something out. So, Marvel doesn't do this, but like smaller publishers, like I think Boom and IDW at least, allow for DRM free downloads. You can download them as PDFs without a digital license.
Right.
They're set to cancel that now. Everything is going to be exclusively within the app. You can't download anything either on desktop or on the app, which I think is really bad. And also this falls into kind of like the vertical. It's vertical monopolization, right? So not only do they have exclusive access to the platform, but they also have sole access to digital distribution.
Basically,
force everyone to play by their terms.
Exactly. What it's also ensuring is that you will never own anything.
You rent it.
You'll have to subscribe to whatever. And I think that one of the other things that Comixology and Amazon want to do is they want to push people into the Amazon Unlimited model. And
I want that.
The big two especially are very resistant on going the way of how music is going with Spotify. Because the one big thing that most people are not realizing, it's not the reason that artists are pulling out of Spotify isn't just because of they're blaming Joe Rogan, but it's not just because of Joe Rogan. It's the fact that they are getting paid pennies on the dollar.
Literally 3 cents per every dollar that Spotify makes through, I think, both ad coverage and like plays per.
Exactly.
For like every million plays, I think they get like 3 cents. I think is
something like that. Yeah,
and it's an absurd number. And as much as Neil Young wants to take a stand against misinformation, it's equally going, I'm not making any money on this anyway, so I can afford to take this stand. It's really. It's kind of a bit disingenuous when you really think about it. The guy wasn't making hardly any money on Spotify as it was, so removing it wasn't that big of a hit to his personal pocketbook. All it did was hurt the consumer.
Probably sells better on vinyl anyway.
well, it might have increased his sales on physical media. It's an argument that I know Vinkman likes to make about, physical media versus, non-physical media. As convenient as Disney Plus is, you will never own.
And it's also one that Vinkman or not. Shit! Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're just cutting it out. And
there he goes.
And Vinkman, feel free to comment on below. But when you're talking about this digital issue, it's one of those things where the case that if I it becomes a situation where do I create the ecosystem? In this case, right now, Comixology has created this ecosystem. And they're having to play Neil. Hi Neil. They're making the rules up, but who is going to win in this? The consumer right now is going to lose by taking away an avenue to say, hey, I read my comics on my computer. I read my comics at my desk at work. Because I can get on the computer and I can log in, and it's one of the few websites I don't, get blocked or whatever. I can read my comics at work on my lunch break. How many people do that?
Well, depending on if they have Wi-Fi, like you need to download them in bulk before you get to your house. It's weird.
I also understand why they're getting rid of the desktop variant of Comixology. Think about the amount of market share that a desktop. Okay, when this show when this network started in 2009, podcasts were pretty much primarily on iPods, iPhones, and computers. The amount of market share that desktop computing had in 2009 versus now was I think 20% iPhone, iPod, 80% desktop, and now it is the complete opposite. Most people don't get on their desktops unless they're doing something that requires a desktop, like what we're doing right now requires me to have a desktop. But I can conceivably do this show with my iPad if I wanted to. I've tested it out and I've done it.
Here's the thing. Coming from someone whose entire graphical design career has involved being creative in how I get my assets, right. This doesn't really. It's bad, but for someone like me who uses the covers as on thumbnails that I make for this site, this doesn't really affect the actual end result. It just affects how many extra steps I have to take to get those assets.
Right. No, it's one of those things that is very frustrating. One of the things I like about going through the cover gallery at Marvel.com is that I can easily do it. I can sit there and pull up a cover and say, okay, I've got this cover. If they've got this issue scanned digitally. But I don't have access to every single Spectacular Spider-Man cover or every single Web of Spider-Man cover or every single Adjective of Spider-Man cover on Marvel.com right now. Why? Because they've not uploaded every issue. There's still a massive bulk of issues.
J2!
I mean, I can't look at the last 6 issues of J2. I've got missing pages in Spider-Man right now. Of the latter half of the first volume of Spider-Girl. We've talked about that on Make My Mayday. That are missing. Again, as Vinkman says, this is just reinforcing his preference for physical media. And I get it. I completely get it.
To provide something of a counter against it, not everyone has the space to get a physical collection. Some people have their phone or tablet, and that's it. That's how they access their media. I'm very lucky because I live in a house with my room that is, like, I have my own office. This isn't it right now, but like I have shelves like these where I can store things I need.
Yeah.
To have a physical media collection. I am very lucky in that regard because I have both the disposable income to have a physical collection as well as the space to store it. And I feel like Amazon is trying to say, like, oh, we're making it more convenient, but they're missing the forest for the trees in that regard.
I understand not fragmenting the audience. I can understand Voltroning the audience. The problem is that when you have consumers that are comic consumers, that are creatures of habit, you've already made them creatures of habit based on the systems that you have in place. To disrupt those systems for people, consumers that are very niche consumers, this is not John Q. Public. If I felt like this was a ploy to get more people to read more comics, I would be all for this. But the problem is it just feels like they're consolidating for the sake of consolidating because they want to see if they can drive more eyeballs to their Kindle app. The problem is that
Kindle peaked years ago, in my opinion. That at least the physical platform of Kindle, whether or not
the platform is still absolutely viable, but the problem is that most people use the Kindle app on their phone. They don't use like the e-ink readers the way they did, like you're saying, years ago. I mean, that was 15 years ago. Absolutely, people. And granted, they still make the e-ink readers, and there still is some advantages to it for reading books. But everything else, I don't see the advantage of it at all.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that Kindle I think has peaked in viability,
right.
And their attempt this is their attempt to take the assets of a platform that has also already peaked and combine it with a platform that they actually want to succeed.
In an effort to rekindle and revitalize, because it's kind of the same thing with Audible versus Amazon podcasts. Like, you launch Amazon Music podcast and Audible, and you have two different things, and now you're trying to smash them together, thinking that it's going to, attract new listeners and everything like that. The problem is that you already had an existing base that probably you're using those products. How the amount of new people using the product may be negligible. And instead, this user experience suffers. That's my 2 cents on it. Again, it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks. There's actually been drafts of legislation to prevent the walling off side of things, like with Apple. It'll get very, very ugly very, very fast. Apple's already written to those, senator or those Congress people saying, please don't do this, which I on one hand, as somebody that enjoys the Apple ecosystem quite a bit, I like the fact that it's kind of walled off. As somebody that used Android in the past, it was very much the wild, wild west. And while I feel like I know what I'm doing with that,
not everyone has the same consumer knowledge that someone like you or I do, where we are fairly in the know of what Apple is doing.
I understand, as somebody that used to jailbreak, I literally jailbroke the first iPhone.
I feel like you shouldn't admit to committing a crime on live stream.
But see, the thing is,
this was a while ago.
Here's the thing: jailbreaking your phone was not illegal, but jailbreaking your tablet was.
Well, and the main worry for me, like going, we need to have a final word on this before we move into the actual comic. We've been talking about copy. We've been talking about like Amazon for like the last half hour.
Apple and Amazon for the last hour.
But
the big A's
to kind of close out, like sure, Amazon might have your best interest at heart with that, and that's giving them extreme benefit of the doubt, because never assume that a corporation has your best interest at heart.
No.
It is simply
trying to save money.
It is simply an alignment of conveniences,
Yeah.
but also
to get them increased profits.
Yeah,
But also,
saving money. And
do not assume that they will stop there. They will do something else that once you are the useful idiot, once your role as the useful idiot has been finished, they will discard you for the next thing that makes them more money. If Zach and I have talked about this extensively, but right to repair laws. The current administration has been pushing hard for like right to repair laws, and Apple is introducing legislation, or not introducing legislation, but they're calling all their lobby friends and saying, "Hey, man, maybe you should not do that because otherwise we'll withdraw your missile money for Raytheon."
And Apple is also getting ahead of it too. They're starting to work on softening their stance on the right to repair. I feel
like that's not out of like the goodness of their heart. That's more just out of recognition that if they don't do it, they'll probably lose more than they gain from it.
Exactly. It's just like the port situation where the EU really, 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 really wants to go standardized ports. So meaning basically USB-C. And Apple makes so much damn money. So
lightning chargers
for licensing Lightning that Lightning was made out of necessity because USB-C was not ready for prime time, and it's plainly evident for like the first iteration of USB-C.
It still needs some tinkering.
It needed a massive amount of tinkering. I think now it's more of a mature asset. So now that it's matured finally and they finally worked out all the kinks, it's fine. But I will say this: Apple will go portless before they'll go USB-C on the iPhone.
Because that requires playing ball with the rest of the
Because you've already MagSafe is basically their backdoor.
Okay. Anyways, let's talk about comics.
Yeah, listen, I could talk about Apple and things like that all day long, but
dude, you came here to talk. You came here to hear about Spider-Man.
Comics and.
All right. Anyways,
disclaimer at the beginning of this episode.
In fairness, we found our groove. Like we originally just like whining about Spider Smasher for 10 minutes to give Paul some time.
That was just you.
We gave Paul his whole hour.
That was just you whining about it, though.
Zach was whining about it too. Mildly.
Not really.
Zach, you muted yourself.
About the latest 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. We had a .bay issue last week, and we have the issue that came out today as of this recording.
Do we want to talk about 88.bay?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the .bay first. Neil,
I don't have the covers. I didn't think to bring those before.
Oh, Neil.
Look, okay, man. I didn't feel like it. I was at my dad's house too, so I didn't really have a whole lot of prep time.
That's okay.
Yeah, me and the ex-husband, or me and the ex-wife's husband, the ex-wife's husband and the ex-wife and my wife were too busy jabbering, and we were all jabbering. I was like, I need to go.
Okay, so anyways, ASM.88 or 88.bay. Written by Jeffrey Thorne, who, if you don't know who he is, he's writing the Green Lantern series for DC, and he's also the guy who wrote the Star Trek Titan novels. For those of you who haven't read those, with art by Jan Bazaldua and Jim Toe, and colors by Jim Campbell. So, hey guys, remember that thing King in Black where Venom got the Silver Surfer's surfboard made into an axe? And we don't talk about that really because that was really stupid. So the issue begins there, where a random lady is getting attacked by a symbiote monster, and she's saved by Hornet. It's Hobie Brown. I somehow he became the Hornet. I don't really remember.
Okay, so do you want me to give a little bit of like background on why he's even getting?
I don't even know.
He made it. Peter went to him for the design of the suit.
So back in
I thought you were asking about. I thought you were asking about how he became the Hornet during King in Black. Okay, sorry.
that part you can
Maybe,
probably
though?
add a little bit
Is that
more.
when he became Hornet?
Yes.
Anyways, Zach, explain.
So the history of the Hornet. Okay, so back during the late 90s,
It's during the Identity Crisis.
97, maybe 98.
Yeah.
There was a story called Spider Hunt, and Norman Osborn framed Peter Parker for the killing of a low-level thug named Joey Z. And as a result of this frame-up, Peter Parker as Spider-Man's life was a living hell. And basically, Peter had a $5 million bounty on his head, and you had everybody coming after him. So the Spider Hunt story occurs. Basically, it comes down to Normie gets kidnapped by the fifth Green Goblin, and all sorts of shenanigans ensue. Peter then decides to give up being Spider-Man temporarily and adopt 4 different costume identities to keep everybody off the trail. So you had Ricochet. My 6-year-old self or 8-year-old self was still saying Rio Chip. I think it's what I kept saying instead of Ricochet. You had Ricochet, you had Dusk, you had Hornet, you had Prodigy. There was 4 Spider-Man titles at the time, so Hornet was Spectacular Spider-Man.
Sensational
Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man was Prodigy. Amazing Spider-Man was Ricochet. And Peter Parker Spider-Man was Dusk. Now, Dusk and Ricochet kind of operated on the opposite side of the law a little bit. So Dusk was kind of hanging out with Paste Pot Pete, a.k.a. the Trash. Whereas Ricochet was hanging out with Delilah, the deadly femme fatale that used to work exclusively with the Rose. And then you had Prodigy, who was kind of like your bombastic Saturday morning cartoon superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And Hornet was kind of just more, more or less more like Peter Parker.
The tech one.
He was much more tech related. So Hobie Brown had gotten partially paralyzed during a battle in the 1990s. It was actually Spider-Man Unlimited number 14. In a battle with the Rocket Racer while they were participating in the Great Game, a Mortal Kombat style simulation type thing where you had a bunch of rich and wealthy people betting on their respective superpowered people, and it was a battle to the death or a battle to gain their masks. And so basically, Hobie and Rocket Racer were basically fighting each other when the unfortunately named El Toro Negro, aka the Black Bull, decided to shoot a rocket launcher missile at them and paralyzed Hobie.
In fairness, at least it wasn't Dwayne McDuffie's pitch for all the black kids on skateboards. I don't want to say it on stream because that could probably get us demonetized or get us some kind of
hard copyright strike.
Oh yeah. Least of not for probably saying a soft racial slur because
so I'm merely quoting what was in the comic. I'm not please.
Oh no! But you know which pitch I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, no. So Hobie got partially paralyzed. As he was working on recovering, he had designed the Hornet jetpack. The problem with the Hornet jetpack was that it's too damn heavy. And somebody like Spider-Man could handle it because of his spider strength. And so that's how he got the Hornet costume. Eventually, he abandoned all 4 identities when his name was cleared and he became Spider-Man again. But there was a series in the 1990s called Slingers, where you had 4 costumed teenagers taking on the various disguises. So you had Dusk, Ricochet, Dusk was a female, Ricochet, and Hornet, and Prodigy. They were all like a super team. Hornet, the original Hornet, the second Hornet, besides Peter Parker, he was killed during the Enemy of the State storyline in Wolverine, drawn by John Romita Jr. Mark Millar was the artist. So Yes, that would be deplatformed.
Yes,
you.
that was the proper word.
So, Hobie then becomes Hornet during King of Black.
Okay.
There you go.
I mean, that's more or less that's what.
That's what happened. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyways, it's a flashback to King of Black. Hobie suits up as Hornet. Also, something to note: Prodigy is not in this issue. It's just Ricochet, Dusk, and Hornet.
Yes.
Yeah. Which the cover, he's on the cover, so
he's not.
Yeah.
But but for those of you who are wondering, where's Prodigy? He hasn't been seen since 2011. As far as was he in the Ben Reilly arc? I forgot.
I don't think that was Dusk that was in the Ben Reilly arc.
Dusk and Ricochet were. I don't remember. I don't remember Prodigy being there, but Prodigy is leading the initiative still. Apparently, I guess. Don't question it.
Yeah, I don't remember what. I'll look up what's going on with Prodigy.
He got like arrested for being drunk, and Iron Man blackmailed him into signing up for the 50th State Initiative. And then after Norman Osborn was beaten during Siege, Cap made him the leader of the initiative program, which was weird, but yeah. Anyways, Hobie's looking at the mess that he created as Hornet, while in the present, Mindy is getting the soft pitch for Hobie's plan to expand Fairgrey, which, if you recall from Tom Taylor's Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, was a crowdfunding site that Hobie co-opted to give lower class people the help they needed. And his plan is to expand to help these people who've been affected by the Avengers battles, or like any superhero fight ever, and help them through their personal issues that have come as a result. But he's interrupted from his pitch by a call from one of his employees, who's revealed that all of their servers are being taken and that they're all terminated. And who is the person that bought their stuff? None other than the Beyond Corporation. That's the only tie into Beyond.
Yeah.
So Hobie meets with their lawyer, who says, hey, you're getting like $15 million out of this. And the final evaluation of their company is $200 million, which is basically they could remake this company and then some. But then Mindy realizes, well, wait a minute, our valuation is only like $75 million. So Beyond Corporation overpaid a lot for for our company. Maybe we should kind of look into that, because that seems a little excessive. But then again, Microsoft just bought Activision for $78 billion. So what do I know? Basically, Hobie breaks into Beyond Corporation and steals the drive, but is ambushed, kind of. I mean, she fails, but she tried, I guess. So like a A for effort, I guess. Like the gold star, you tried. There was an attempt. So Dusk tried to break into Hobie's apartment, and I kind of forgot what happened. She's getting like little visions about I guess the future. I don't know. I kind of forgot how the like actual Dusk works. You'll forgive me if there's things that I don't really catch.
Yeah.
But I think she got kidnapped by the Beyond Corporation. Oh, Ricochet did.
Yeah, Ricochet does.
Ricochet got kidnapped by Beyond Corporation, and Shield's gone. The FBI is useless. So, basically, Hobie accidentally got a hold of the exact file they needed to continue the plot along. So they go to Herkimer County in New York to break into a Beyond Corporation facility. They find Ricochet with a bunch of Beyond scientists fighting off what looks to be the tardigrades from Star Trek Discovery. And fight scene. Ricochet reveals, I wasn't in trouble. I was working for Beyond Corporation. They hired me as part of their hero division. and one of the guys in the scientist suits gives Hobie his card and says, "I'm offering you a job. Call me in the morning. We need to talk." Issue's over.
Okay, so what is everybody's grades for the issue?
Okay, on a technical level, I give it a C. On an actual level, I'm probably giving it a D.
Ooh. Neil's grade is a D. This is
Jesus.
This is the lowest grade you've given in a while, buddy.
I think this is the lowest grade I've ever given.
Yeah, I don't think you've given anything below a C.
Yeah, I gave 74. Like that, even that was like a low point for me. I gave that a C, I think, like a C minus, right?
It was a C minus. I'm going to go C plus. It was serviceable. You mentioned the whole Ben Reilly thing. Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider. This was
David's run
during Peter David's run. Richie Gilmore is the name of the second prodigy. They were this has been Reilly Scarlet Spider number 11, so around that area. So yeah, I see the future and it will be. What is Adam? What's your grade?
I gave it a B.
Woo.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually kind of surprised, like how
SoFlo gave it a C.
I think that I thought it was enjoyable. I don't really. I mean,
put your grades and I'll put them up on the screen.
Is this going to lead to anything else in the future? Probably not. But I thought it was, it was good. I thought the art was good. Yeah, I don't know. It was kind of. I mean, it's not the best, but it's good enough, I thought.
So here's my takeaway from this. On a technical level, it is okay. You can tell there's an artist switch from Bazalgua to Toe. It's very noticeable.
Yeah.
Even though the colorist really tries to kind of make them blend together, you can tell that it's different artists, and that's not a slight against either of them. It's just they didn't blend together very well.
Right.
But it's the same that happened with like Bocelli and Toe during the Morbius arc. But it's written competently. I don't think Hobie's portrayed as like particularly incompetent or like as an unlikable character. But like here's two major cruxes for why I gave it a D. One, I didn't care about the plot at all. And then two, this had nothing to do with the Beyond storyline, aside from like Beyond being in the periphery. Like Beyond was kind of mentioned as buying out Fairgrey, and then Hobie steals some service. But like aside from that, there's not really a whole lot that really makes this a Beyond story, like a story that you need to read for Beyond.
Yeah. It provides context for if they spin it off, but I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, maybe they will. In a few months,
yeah,
but
if you look at the letters page, Nick Lowe really wants this Slingers book to take off.
Danny Chasm does,
or whoever is in the letters page.
I mean, I'm down for like 90s nostalgia, but like the Slingers, they're not my favorite. I do hope they do re-release the Spider Hunt or the Identity Crisis trade. That'd be really nice.
I want to pick up the Identity Crisis trade, honestly. Because that kind of the Dusk story. The Dusk story was one of my. I had a subscription to Peter Parker right as that came out, so that was.
Oh, dude!
I have like I have nostalgia for that. I have fond memories of that.
Yeah. Now, granted, who is Joey Z? I mean, when I think about that, I think about J.R. Fettinger from Crawl Space and his, him talking about who the hell Joey Z was. Who is some big character that Howard Maggie created. But no, I thought that era right there that you're talking about, like the Slingers era, the Identity Crisis era, was probably Mackie's strongest era on Spider-Man. When it was him and Romita Jr.
Because he started off relatively strong, and then just Peter, because he could have just had no idea what he wanted to do.
Mackie. So Mackie has, like, when you go back and read Mackie's books, they have some quirks to them. He had some pretty good artists that he worked with. Alex Savick on Web, and then he jumped over to Adjective of Spider-Man with Tom Lyle, and then Tom Lyle left, and then it became Romita for the rest of the time that he was on Spider-Man, whether it be on Amazing or Peter Parker. And then he worked with John Byrne as well for the Peggy Byrne reboot. But I don't attribute that more to Mackie. I attribute that more to Byrne for why that ultimately failed. The problem with Mackie is that by the time you got to the reboot, Mackie had been writing the character for almost 6 or 7 years at that point, and I think he was very burnt out.
Maybe Joey Z was facade eliminating 2 unresolved plot threads at once.
Where was Spencer when we needed him?
That would have been Terry Kavanaugh was the facade story. So that's not you're crossing your streams a little bit.
Oh no! Anyway,
but yeah, no,
it could have worked. Maybe
that's always been the running joke is that we still have never figured out who was Facade, who killed Lance Bannon, a character that actually had some depth to him.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? In one of my few bone throws to Slot, he did a good joke out of it. In what's the arc called? I Killed Tomorrow. That was the one where like Facade's about to reveal his identity, and Spider-Man's like, "Not now, I'm busy."
Oh yeah.
That I'll give Slot that one. That was funny.
Was that during like Clone Conspiracy? He's like, "Hey, do you want to know what my identity is?" And he's like, "Not now, I'm busy." Like that was pretty.
This was before Ends of the Earth actually. Like this is the arc just before Ends of the Earth.
Right.
We're like what. Not Genki makes a time door. White Genki. Genki makes a time door.
Oh God, what's his name?
Grady Scraps.
Grady Scraps, yeah.
Grady, yes, Grady. I think that speaks to how much no one cares
that
about
name. How do you forget that name?
The same way I forgot like the rest of the Horizon cast, except for what Sanjani.
Was
that her name?
Yeah, Sanjani. Yeah.
Gosh, she was awful. She was just there to be a B word. Like she was.
I appreciate that, Zach. I appreciate your self-censoring.
Yeah.
For the greater good. But anyways, on a technical level, this book is fine. I kind of feel like I wasted $4.99 because I didn't want to read basically an ad for a Slingers book.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, like. I didn't demand this.
Like the Misty Knight one was at least like fun. This one just felt more like exposition. It felt more like setup for a different book.
There is a lot of exposition in this, I think.
The Misty Colleen one at least felt like it had like substance and like was its own self-contained story outside of just being like here's these 2 characters that don't really get a whole lot of screen time.
Right.
Here's an issue dedicated to them. This felt more like an ad than like.
This one felt like the least. This one, out of all of the tie-ins,
all the Bay issues,
all the Bay issues have felt like that they were tying into something. This one was the one that felt superfluous. This is the first one, and I think that's why I'm not surprised that that you gave it a D on a certain level, because I can understand why. Because this is the one, after telling us we didn't need to read the tie-ins, and basically lying to us, because if you don't read the tie-ins, you're not getting the full freaking story. Well, this one you literally can skip. It is skippable, and that's the part that really, honestly, frustrates me the most. Is that
They let go. They yanked our chain, and they let the chain go, and then they pulled back on the chain again when we had a little bit more movement, and now we're right back where we started.
Like you felt like you could justify no longer reading the tie-ins like before this, then they kind of say, "Oh yeah, you should read the tie-ins. You should always read the tie-ins." Well, unless Hornet and Dusk and Ricochet are going to have an active role in the end of Beyond, what the is the point? Like you want people to cheer and applause and now it just feels like a joke. Like this was probably the worst, most egregious example of just
give us $5.
Give us $5 and for this week, and we'll advertise this tie-in book. So
buy this new miniseries that is going to sell 14K.
Because retailers are not going to want to buy. Like, I'm sorry, but we done tried to do a Prowler. It was a miniseries, but it was advertised as an ongoing during Clone Conspiracy.
That was like a wave, like part of a wave of like we wanted to do like full ongoings, but then they canned them because they sold so horribly.
I also think they were doing that for the copyright purposes, in my opinion, to renew the copyright.
Do we want to continue talking about ASM 90? I know Paul's waiting in the parade.
So Paul is here or was here. He's I don't know where exactly he's at.
His chair is empty.
I can start giving the rundown of Amazing Spider-Man number 90.
Oh, it's 89. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 990. Legacy numbering.
890.
890. So on the cover, it's got the Goblin and the Cat. We've got
It's Gobby Mommy.
Yeah, Queen Goblin. So we go back to the Beyond.
Wait. You want if I do do you want me to redo the recap or what?
I can recap. It's fine.
I can do it.
I can do it fast. It's fine. I haven't done a recap in a bit. I gotta stretch the muscle.
Stretch a little bit. I'll take a nap.
All right, take a nap, buddy. So we open with Gabby Mommy and her origin. She's getting created. What's her name from Beyond is like my queen.
Maxine.
Yeah, Maxine's like my queen, and then she flies out.
This characterization has the edginess of a 14-year-old's fanfic.
Yeah. So Goblin Queen is flying on her glider. We then get the title page. All hail Goblin Queen. Pat Gleason's the writer. Mark Bagley's the penciler. Andrew Hennessy and John Dell do the inks. Brian Valencia is.
Damn it! John Dell's back.
And Joe Caramaga is the letterer. Flip the page over. We're back at the McCarthy Medical Center. We see Peter Parker. He's working out with his PT, his physical therapist. She knows that he's been putting in a lot of work. Peter's trying to continue to push himself, and right on cue, as he pratfalls into the floor, Black Cat shows up. And so Peter and Black Cat are talking back and forth. Captain America and Black Cat, obviously, as we talked about the last few issues, have been helping Peter try to get back to full strength. And so we then see that there's...
He's gone today to conveniently get him out of the way for the plot to continue.
Yeah, so basically Cap is off being an Avenger. He's off-world. And then there's a bulletin that the Daily Bugle is being attacked. Peter's like, somebody needs to go. He thinks he's ready. And Peter's like, it's not exactly my style. So, Cat, reminds him that she doesn't want him to go in half-cocked, neither does Cap. We have a brief reminder that the Mary Jane Black Cat had a little tryst in Beyond #1 as we covered last episode, but Cat's like, fine, if you think you're ready for this, then fine. And so Peter's then given his web shooter, but Cat said, if you want it, you can come and get it. So she then webs him to the wall. And Cat
please be gentle. This is the other dream. Please be gentle.
Yeah. So we then have Cat going off to the Daily Bugle. Meanwhile, at the Daily Bugle, Mary Jane is about to plunge to her doom as she is hanging on to some scaffolding at the.
They say that a hero can save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait.
Shoe falls off like in The bridge scene in that
in
movie.
your music video, yeah.
Well done, Neil.
Yeah.
Good reference. So, as we get to, look into my eyes, Ghost Rider style, aka the Goblin gaze. Mary Jane's like, I don't know what's going on. So we then have Walter James Wilcox getting basically pumpkin bombed to death. I don't know what happened. The artwork's kind of a little weird on that.
I think what happens is that like her scepter. I don't know. Is it a scepter? It looks like a double-ended mace.
Yeah.
He grabs it and it sets him on fire or something. It immolates his insides. I think that's what it is.
Then punches Queen Goblin in the face and is just like, just stop it. And she's about to, about to hurt MJ when Black Cat comes in, saves the day. Black Cat and her going back and forth, and then Black Cat gets all damaged goods, and now she gets the Goblin
dead. By the way, she's like lynching Black Cat by the chain. Like she should be dead.
Right.
I didn't even notice that.
We then have Black Cat, going through her, making herself feel like a failure, that she's awful, that no one cares, that she's just this disappointment. And then Queen Goblin's like, the world would be better off without you. And then she decides to like literally plummet to her freaking doom.
The Neil's Lifeinator. Everyone would be better off without you.
So, again, we have the tears of Black Cat.
That's so good. That page is so fucking good.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden, just the tear bubble bursts, and it's a web line, and it's.
How is she not dead again? She should have died like twice this issue. First she gets like a noose made out of chain, and now she gets Gwen Stacy. How is she still alive?
It's because it's Black Cat. Anyway, so MJ has this big old grin on her face saying that's not Ben, that's Peter. So Peter's like, you make this look easy, you totally got this, and he thinks he's totally got it, but Black Cat kind of plays it off. The three of them have this discussion. MJ, I guess, has his costume. I don't know where the costume comes from, but Peter gets the costume.
It was in
the bag
Black
of holding.
Cat's bag.
Oh, it's in Black Cat's bag. Okay. So Pete gets the costume, climbs up the wall on a gorgeous 2-page spread. We then cut back to 5 minutes prior. So exactly how did Peter get out of the webs? Janine, who is very good with a knife, helped him bust out, because this is the first time Janine has ever met Peter. She's like, you want to help them? Good. Then show me where to find you. My name is Janine, and we need your help too, whether you are ready or not. To be continued. Next edition, next episode.
Next issue, Gobby Mommy sweeps the competition.
Yep. So if we're to believe the cover, we got Ben Reilly incapacitated with her standing over a completely knocked out Black Cat, with Robbie, Janine, MJ, Glory looking on, very, very worried. Speaking of being very, very worried, we got Heath again in the house.
Hi. Sorry for being so late. Always. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to. My wife and I went out with the kid, and we were out to dinner. So we just got back. It was a little bit later. I was hoping on like 20 minutes earlier, but it is what it is.
By the way, Vickman, yes, Adam, bad, Adam, bad.
Yeah. So I feel bad because I've missed like all of you guys' like, takes on everything. So and you're
45.
We haven't talked about 90 a whole lot, or 89 a whole lot. We just finished the synopsis.
Right. Yeah, I got that.
A issue just now. We just did the synopsis of 89. We spent the first like 45 minutes. We talked a little bit about the what was it, the Spider Smasher.
Smasher. Then we talked a lot about like Amazon removing DRM and the
Amazon Comixology controversy with them removing like he said, DRM, but also removing the desktop versions of their software. And so we also talked about closed ecosystems and
the new hold on, the new app doesn't let you do go on through like Safari. It doesn't let you go and read through that.
Yeah, the new website, the new web version doesn't let it. Only works through Kindle.
Yeah, you have to use the Kindle app. So
you either have to use the Kindle reader on like desktop, or you have to read it on the Kindle app on like the actual computer.
And Comixology, but Comixology still works though. Like both will work simultaneously.
I think they're planning to phase it out.
The Comixology app, like through the Mac Store or your iPhone and tablet device, it works fine. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to push people more towards the Kindle.
Okay.
Yeah, they're trying to basically integrate it more with Kindle, and people aren't happy.
Okay.
Especially, you should have seen like my whole. You should have seen my whole soliloquy on it.
Yeah, I'm totally out of the woods on that. So you guys talked about issue 88 then, the first appearance of Red Goblin or Goblin.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, I totally missed that. So
I wasn't here for the last episode.
Yeah, so I gotta catch up because, or I've already read it, but I mean, I wanted to just kind of catch up my feelings a little bit. I know you guys talked this a long time ago, probably the previous week as well, the MJ and Black Cat issue, and I thought that was phenomenal.
Yes, it was.
It was such a great issue, and also I wanted to also give a shout out to the letterer who did the tombstone in the parenthesis or little like faint, like emphasizing the fact that he talks quietly. I love that. Like that has been missing in comics for a while now, and seeing that again.
I haven't seen the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was a really cool touch because it's a lost art, that whole thing. So that was a phenomenal issue. I gotta tell you, what Zeb Wells wrote, not today's issue, but the one last week. Yeah. And I really liked it. I liked the art. I thought the Goblin Queen was a really cool idea. And I was really impressed.
Goblin Queen's different thing.
Wait, which one is she called? See, I'm confused. Right. Which one is she?
Calling her Goblin Queen Goblin.
Yeah, she's Goblin.
Oh,
just call her Gobby. Just call her Gobby Mommy.
Yeah, you be the nickname Gobby Mommy, but Goblin Queen also is known as Fury. The Goblin Queen is also from the MC2 as well. So
anyway, I just want to say that Queen Goblin was surprisingly really interesting, like visually, and like it was a different take on things. So yeah, I was into it. I was into it. I can't wait to actually talk about this issue in particular. So yeah, I'm losing my voice. I'm sorry. So, but yeah, this is gonna be a very interesting conversation, I think, with you guys on this issue. Can I go first with it since I'm already talking, Mr. Zach?
Absolutely. In that way, you don't.
Let's give grades. Let's give grades real quick before.
What's your grade on this, Paul?
I'm gonna give it an A.
All right, just an A, regular A.
Yeah.
Okay, Neil.
I'm giving it an A plus.
A plus after the ding that you gave the last issue, not this like the Bay issue that we covered tonight. You go from the lowest grade you've ever given to one of the highest. So, Adam,
I'll give it an A minus.
Oh, you must have been reading off my notes because I gave it an A minus as well. So nice. A minus, and an A plus. Paul, what did you think about this issue? What was it that made you give it an A?
Well, I think I gotta be honest. This is the second issue that Gleason's written, and I don't know if he's being heavily edited or if he's just putting his name on something. But I've been really impressed with his dialogue. I've been really impressed with his pacing. As an artist, and writing comics, you have to think visually, right? Like that's kind of, even if you're a writer, you have to think visually, and it's not something that everyone can do. And obviously, as an artist and a great artist as he is, it shouldn't be a shock. But I'm really impressed with how he's able to really let just the art of doing the medium of comic books and doing ending pages a certain way on cliffhangers. And again, editors all play a part in that. And I'm sure he's being edited just like anyone else is, maybe more heavily edited. I don't know. But I've been really impressed with how he's been able to put a story together really, really efficiently and have it be a lot of fun. I really thought that he did a good job. Again, assuming he did the issue. I'm not saying he didn't, but I've just been really shocked. I'm like, man, this is actually a really good comic. When Nick Lowe said that he was, a untapped potential of writing, or I'm paraphrasing, but he emphasized how much of a good writer he was. He was not lying. I kind of took that as like we're just giving him a little bit, a piece of meat or whatever, a little something. But no, man, like I've been really impressed. The 2 issues he's written have been really solid, and I really liked what they've given us for the characters. So yeah, I thought that the pacing was really well done. I thought the characterizations all seemed really good. I thought Queen Goblin was awesome again. I loved the power that we got out of her, bringing up
vision.
Yeah, great. I thought that was really cool. So yeah, there was a lot of great stuff in this. The reason I gave it an A- is I thought that the art was it was super solid, but it wasn't great.
There's great stuff in it, but there's some.
You want to talk about John Dell for a little bit?
I don't know. I just thought the coloring was a little weird at times. It wasn't always consistent.
Yeah,
but
like on that last panel before Felicia gives Peter his costume, like it looks like her nose is blending into her head. It looks kind of like Voldemort there.
Yeah, it wasn't a complete perfect issue, but for the most part, Bagley did a great job. I thought for the most part, I thought that Gleason did a great job. It was really fun. I thought it was really well done how they were able to kind of get everything combined. I was really impressed. So yeah, A- for me. It was great.
All right, Neil.
So I think it's important to note that I've been very positive regarding Gleason. I don't think he should be like the only writer. If I had my way, it would be Gleason and McKay co-writing, sort of like what Gleason did during his time at DC on Batman and Robin and Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Did he write that too?
He co-wrote it with Tomasi.
Okay.
But it clearly shows that when Gleason is part of at least a duo, he's at his best writing wise. Like his writing for Red Goblin didn't impress me, so that I think he just needs a group to bounce off of. I love your little turn rack, Paul. Spinner rack. I'm sorry.
Super jealous.
But
now he's just
now you're just flexing.
Yeah.
But anyways, I think this is probably the single strongest issue of Beyond, not counting like the one shots. I think this is because I think Black Cat MJ is probably the best one we've gotten, and that's probably when Beyond peaked for me.
Yeah,
but
I think that unfortunately there's not any Ben Reilly in this issue.
I think that's telling is that
Ben's apt issue, and it's one of the best of the run.
Because it's basically a love letter to Peter. It's him defying the odds and showing up. Well, not defying the odds, but like
it's very
him having a big damn heroes moment and showing up just when everyone needs him to. That was a great moment.
This again, this could have easily been one of the worst parts of the Clone Saga. Was when Peter was jobbing out to Ben, when they were, devaluing Peter to elevate Ben, and that is the worst part of the Clone Saga. It's particularly evident when you start seeing things like, and I just literally been listening to the most recent episodes of CSC, and Paul, you missed my announcement that we may be recording the finale of CSC this weekend. But I've been listening, and right now I'm through to the Greatest Responsibility episode. So that shows you how many episodes I've listened to. Almost 20 some odd episodes now. The fact of the matter is that Ben's not in this issue at all, it's a Peter issue. And it's Bagley working with Gleason was phenomenal. I agree with Radiac here. He says, even though I think personally Bagley is misused as a fill-in artist and took a dive on facial expressions, he nails scenes like Felicia.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah, I wanted to expand on my John Dell rant, and this goes back to Spencer's run. But one of Bagley's weak spots is letting John Dell ink his work, because John Dell always does these weird panels where like line work is clearly incomplete, and he should have just gotten Andrew Hennessy to ink the entire issue. Those are the pages you can tell where Hennessy does it because there's not like just weird splotches missing from the page.
Right.
Those pages you can tell are Hennessy, and I wish Hennessy would ink all of Bagley's work, or Mark Morales.
I can tell really, like, even on that last page that Dell did the inks. I also want to point out what Radiac said too. He said, I also appreciate that Janine and MJ look much different now as opposed to a Daisy-like variant. That's absolutely true. Janine, especially in Lost Years, looked like Mary Jane. So much so that Steve Wacker thought that this big old 3/4 splash page of Ben and Janine was actually Peter and Mary Jane from the 90s. And actually during the Who Has Been Riley arc, that was put in as like the background, like they had like a background image of Peter and MJ, but it wasn't Peter and MJ, it was Janine and Ben from Lost Years. So there is at least enough of distinction between Janine and MJ that you don't think that it's just, Janine's just a copy of MJ. I really love the artwork here. The scene with Felicia was phenomenal. The characterization of Felicia has been phenomenal. Characterization of MJ. MJ is a badass in this issue. I mean, she punches a goblin in the face without having to like there's no contrived nonsense. Like she knows it's going to probably hurt the situation, and she still does it anyway. So MJ's written strong. Peter's written strong. Everybody's written strong here. The weak link, I think, is a little bit of Goblin Queen, but at least we're getting some internal monologue with her. You can
to expand on Gabi Mami. I mentioned earlier in your recap.
Dude, that's just so cringe. Stop using that phrase.
Well, I don't want to keep calling her Queen Goblin because every time we do that, we're going to think of Madeline Pryor. So Gabi Mami is the next best thing. Plus, it's funny and it makes you mad, so I'm going to keep doing it now just because I know it pisses you off. But with Gabi Mami, I feel like it's just some 14-year-old's fan fiction. Like she does that. But this is where the healing begins. Madness is clear. It sounds like Cold Steel the Hedgehog. Like, come on, man.
That okay. I'll defend the dialogue for Queen Goblin up until that point. That's the only line of dialogue from both both issues that I've been like, I was a little over the top. Again, not Gleason's strongest point, but that's very much a writer's. In my opinion, it's like low hanging fruit for a lot of writers.
It's their cheap way of presenting an insane character.
Yeah, or and try to be like clever, not clever, but trying to be trying to make it seem.
No, it is them
operatic.
Trying to be clever.
I mean, it's them trying to be operatic, and be. I don't know, whatever. I will say that's the one line of that inner monologue that I did not that made me cringe a little bit. I thought the dialogue for her actually has been pretty strong. I don't think it's bad to a point where I'm like, this is awful. At least for me. And like, I think it's very easy for a character like that to be super cringe. So I'm not saying it's amazing, but I don't think it's bad. It's fine. And it just needs to be fine. She doesn't need to be super, dynamic.
Okay. I will say this. She is not Menace. That's like a low bar. Well, I don't like Menace at all, but like
female goblins, we have what? Menace, Harley Cooper.
Well, yeah, for like 2 issues.
Yeah,
but it counts.
I'll say
it doesn't.
Okay, so there is some pages where the art
is better.
There is some pages where the artwork's a little off. Particularly the one where she's basically hanging Felicia by the neck.
Yeah, I was like, she should have died twice.
Like the face of Goblin Queen looks a little off there.
That's a John Dell page right there.
And I'm pretty sure that the page with Peter, especially when you look at the faces, they don't look right, and I'm almost positive that's also a John Dell page.
Okay, so the page where Felicia jumps off the glider, that's definitely a John Dell page, because the way that face is inked, the one that zooms in on her face after she's jumped, that looks exactly like a Kevin Cully face, and Kevin Cully was a very important John Dell co-worker. Just the way it's drawn looks like a John Dell page. But actually, I want to touch on Radiac's point that like they could have easily made this like a commentary on Green Goblin overexposure. I honestly think it would have been cool if like Beyond Corporation, because their entire thing is like BlackRock with superheroes at this point, instead of like actually being interesting. But I feel like they could have easily just made like, what kind of villains does Spider-Man, like a public poll on like their equivalent of Twitter. And just so like, what's Spider-Man's greatest villain? And someone said Green Goblin. Like, fine, we'll make a Green Goblin. Go blow up the Daily Bugle.
Only worry is that we've only got 4 parts left.
Well, the plot hasn't progressed anyways, so
that is my biggest thing. Is that if this is supposed to be a 19-part story, we're on part 15, and we've got 4 parts left,
plus a BEY issue with Monica Rambeau.
There's a lot of story to wrap.
What exactly do you have to wrap?
The Ben situation is something that's got to be addressed.
I don't. But you don't think that? Okay, first of all, there'll be a double-sized issue for the last one. I think they've already explained right now that there's something going on. You're going to reveal that somewhere in the next 4 issues. That's not going to be that difficult, in my opinion.
Well, no, but
we established that Janine and Mary Jane and Black Cat and Peter are all together now. So that's 4 issues left of that. And again, with every other, I'm assuming there's going to be double sized issues in here. I don't see it being a problem.
Gleason already confirmed 93 is double sized.
Yeah, so I'm not worried, because I feel like they've done a very good job of naturally building up the Beyond Corporation, and it's coming to a head, and Queen Goblin is that head. And I feel like, again, it's a good payoff. I honestly think they've built up a decent villain in this, and it's different. It's not the same classic, Green Goblin formula. Bring in, whatever. It's a different take, and I gotta say, I'm really into her power. I love her power. I think it's really cool. I love what she did to Felicia. It was really interesting, taking the whole Kafka thing and like taking the
the mind effing with
that's super cool. And I think, again, there's a difference with her.
Yeah, I think they did enough to differentiate her versus, and I did make the joke about look into my eyes, pendant stare type thing.
But it's cool.
I mean, it's got a better success rate than the pendant stare at this point. So,
no. Look, Bagley. Listen, Bagley was brought in pretty last minute on this, and he freaking killed it. I mean, absolutely killed it. I mean,
Goblin was great, man. She was great.
She's a cool character. I'm telling you. This is more of a joke, but I just love how like how Gobby Mommy's power is just depression stare. Like, be depressed, kill yourself now.
I love that's different, because I mean, it's not like the pendant stare is like you're gonna feel all the terror you had inside you, whatever.
No, I'm not saying it's not unique. I just think it's funny. Like, you can boil it down to just that clip of that one guy going, "You should kill yourself now." That's essentially what Queen Goblin's power is.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I think that, but again, it plays into at least the fact of who she was as a person before.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just saying,
it's
like,
the
it's just like the weird. It's like the way it's visualized is cool, but like on the surface, it's just kill yourself stare.
Well, and it's also the hubris of Beyond. Right. By them now they've already been working on overextending. They've obviously taken a step or a bridge too far.
Too big of a bite.
And they think they're untouchable. So their own hubris is what's going to bring them down. I think it's an enjoyable enough arc. If this gets Ben back to where Ben should be by the end of this, I'm game. I'm down. We've basically got 2 months.
I don't think it's going to happen though. I don't think it's going to happen the way it's not, what I think, Zach, is it's going to tie up a little bit of like the missing memories that he has, but I don't think it's going to tie up everything purposefully, because I think there's gonna be another series with him in it or something like that, because it seems too good. I think what they're done with Ben is too interesting, because this is the road to recovery. This is them like saving Ben Riley from the early day, or from the Dan slots, and I love you, Peter David, but the Peter David run where it just was it's too weird.
I've learned to not like modern David. How I stopped. Symbiote Spider-Man should be how I stopped worrying and love to not like Peter David anymore.
Agree, disagree. But anyway,
I'm surprised Brad still lets you be on his show.
That's too bad.
He's fine.
The new
modern Peter David. I like his older stuff still, but his modern stuff is very not good.
I think Symbiote Spider-Man. I haven't read the latest one.
It's like Donny Cates. Something happened that made them go full bad.
I think Symbiote Spider-Man's a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun. But anyway, I just want to say that they have now successfully rebuilt Ben Riley. So I think there's good storytelling there, Zach, that I don't think it's going to be all in a nice tied up in a bow at the end of this 4 issues. There's going to be some carryover to wherever they have him going next.
On the road again.
I'm on the road again.
The fact that we have not gotten Kane this entire time, I think, is a missed opportunity.
Too much. There's too much. You can't be way too crowded.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel like enough has happened. It's been like 15 issues, and the plot is barely kicking off.
I feel like that there was some spinning of the wheels in we could have eliminated
the first 6 issues where there is spinning of the wheels.
We'll do a full autopsy once Beyond is done. I feel like we go a good chunk of an episode of kind of going back and saying, okay, now that we've completed this arc, what was the things that were right, what are the things that were wrong? It'll be really, but like Radiac says, only with 4 issues left, it feels so out of place that Beyond's even involved in all this, but we all know why. But this feels like Scarlet Spider Volume 3 guest starring ASM.
So Paul kind of touched on like how Next Wave Agents of Hate was more just like kind of setting up the Beyond Corporation, and Captain America: The Mighty Avengers kind of expanded on it. To go off of that, one of the reasons I was looking forward to Beyond as a story arc was to see Beyond Corporation do Beyond Corporation things. Here you could have like replaced them with Roxxon, and I don't really think a whole lot would have really changed. And so it feels like a huge waste of the Beyond Corporation title. It was a bit of a letdown for me.
Well, and you have that going into it though. Like I didn't, and I still don't really know what's going on with Beyond Corporation. I have to read Mighty Avengers. The beauty of it is I don't have to, and I still enjoying it because I just know that which again, I'm terrible with names, but the chick with the pink hair,
Maxine.
She's new though. That's the thing.
Exactly. This. So, and I figured that much. So they're establishing that like Beyond's kind of like a Roxxon. Like that's a good comparison, I think. But
why did they go with Roxxon then?
Because Roxxon's a corporation that it's making money. It's not about making bad guys, from my perspective.
And their primary focus is like
being assholes for the plot.
my thing about Beyond in this is like they're set up as the bad guy, but it seems more to me that they're more amoral and opportunists. But I don't know if they're necessarily bad guys, Neil. Am I wrong about that? Like,
imagine if we had like another.
They are true. Here's the thing: Beyond Corporation, at its heart, in like the expanded stuff from Mighty Avengers and Next Wave, is more just like chaotic neutral. They just do whatever they want because they feel like it.
Well, it's like amoral, yeah.
I did get a little bit of they're not like amoral completely. I didn't get that impression anyway. That's my opinion from like the Next Wave stuff that I read into reading this Beyond Corporation, especially with Maxine as the head. And again, I'm assuming Maxine, obviously, see, this is what I think they're doing too. They're setting something up besides just with Spider-Man. I feel like they are building beyond. No pun intended.
Why did but at that point, why did you say it's like a 19-part story if you're not going to wrap it up? at chapter 19.
It's comic books. I guess for me, like
some degree of closure though. Don't
just
like
you're gonna get Peter back as Spider-Man after they rebuilt him.
Like at the end of Civil War, but like it's at the end of Civil War 2 when like it doesn't end. It just has Captain Marvel going, okay, I got some ideas about the future. Let's go do these other things. Finish it in Secret Empire. Go over there.
One point I did want to make about Beyond and about this story arc. Imagine if they did this story arc in the 90s, though. How interesting it would be to have a corporation like Beyond creating superheroes, a la similar to how the Thunderbolts try to take the place of the Avengers and fill that void and fill that role.
See, actually, this would have fit actually. This would have fit really. God damn it, Zach. This would have fit really well in All New, All Different. Like in the 2015-2017 era, where like most of the major teams were either out of commission, like the Fantastic Four, or heavily reorganized to the point where like the Avengers were hiring kids and Iron Man had no money. Like something like Beyond Corporation, where like a major corporation is sponsoring like an A-list, like their astroturfed A-lister, would have been some. And it's kind of what Parker Industries did, but never really got in.
You're cutting out, Neil. Radiac also says, I don't want to be overly negative, but there have been so many good moments, and I'm afraid that will too come to pass. Janine and Ben will be gone along with MJ and Felicia.
Okay, so this is why I think that it's important that Maxine's character has been created, because I don't think that she's been created for this 19 issues. I think you're giving Ben now a reason to dislike the Beyond Corporation. Mm-hmm. They're building the Beyond Corporation, I think, beyond, again, no pun intended, but beyond Spider-Man. It's going to be its own thing. And I think Ben, he's going to be hunting them down. And I think it starts with this because you're building that up, but you also need to take Peter out of it for a minute because they needed to like regroup as editorially, obviously. And I think not inspired, but it's been pretty clever to have the Spider-Man get hurt so badly that you have to rehabilitate them. I work in the medical industry, and I used to work for therapy, physical therapy for many, many years. So it was kind of cool to see this aspect of a superhero have to go through physical therapy in a different way. And again, but using that to build up your character and build up the Beyond organization to kind of slow things down a little bit, to then get to a point where now you can restart with Zeb Wells and JRJR. Let's be real. That's the whole point the Beyond run exists, essentially. So to me, I feel like this is a good. It's been fine. It's honestly been better than I expected. If you would have told me that it's gonna be 19 issues, it's gonna be about, these are the strong points, I'd be like, that sounds like it's run of the mill. I feel they've touched enough on Ben's character and have repaired him enough to where it has definitely taken some time. But I feel like, people say it's been treading. I don't really see it because I feel they've been building and regrouping all these different characters, and you had to take Peter out of it because you needed to regroup. So you're rebuilding the character, you're giving different aspects of the character. It's worked for me. It hasn't been flawless, no, but I mean, I think I've been way more impressed with it than I was anticipating.
Listen,
trim some of the fat, and I'd agree with you.
I think you could have eliminated probably about 4 or 5 parts, and I think it would have been probably a little more stronger of a story. I think the whole Morbius thing was the Kelly Thompson arc was
like one issue. That's like one issue.
It's 2 issues, but then you've also got the Craven stuff, which
I love that stuff. Don't take that away from me at all. I love it.
The Ziggler parts have been pretty good, but I mean they would have worked as like a spectacular Spider-Man story.
You can make how about this? I think with the Doc Ock Ziggler issues and maybe one issue of Thompson's Morbius, you could maybe take those out. So that's what 2-3 issues at max.
Yeah, I think like a total of 4, maybe. Like I said, you could probably have trimmed those instead of them being 2-issue arcs, maybe making them an issue. And you could have
take out the Miles issue. Take out the hospital issue.
Miles issue was that's one of the low points in my opinion.
And I liked the hospital issue that Ahmed did, but relative
it was
to
filler.
the plot of ASM at the time, it's relatively pointless.
That's a good point. That is a good point. But that to me, I don't even count that because that's just again, filler issues, because that's not furthering the plot of Beyond. We're just strictly talking about Beyond. I've liked what they've done so far.
The vast majority of Beyond, we were just talking about this. I mean, Neil gave the lowest grade that he's given ever on this show. Was a D for the BEY issue for this today. Last week BEY.
I haven't read it yet.
It's okay. I mean, it's honestly,
good-ish.
In my opinion, it is the least consequential tie-in issue that they've done so far.
It's a setup for something that is probably not going to happen.
And
maybe it will.
To kind of tie this back together, and this is probably my final point of the evening. From me making the announcement about CSC. If you've ever listened to my discussion and debate about Clone Conspiracy, the character assassination that occurred with Ben Reilly, and what they did to the character, I will say this: Ben Reilly, by the end of Beyond, will have been in a better place, and Beyond will have been to Ben Reilly what the Spencer first half of the Spencer run was to Spider-Man overall in terms of the rehabilitation. There is certain things that I felt like were broken from not just Slott, but like that were fundamentally broken, even going back to the Mackie Byrne era with Spider-Man. And I think that the past almost 6 years now of Spider-Man's publishing history has been about having to repair the poor characterization at times of different and various characters. Peter Parker, Jonah Jameson, Mary Jane, Black Cat, Ben Reilly.
See, okay, so to go off of the MJ and Black Cat stuff, like I mentioned earlier, I wanted some degree of closure in the story. I want this to continue, the Peter MJ Black Cat dynamic we have right now to continue into World Tour. I know we're not going to, and going off of the story, I know we're not going to.
I honestly feel like that we're getting a fake out, Neil. I truly do. I think that we'll know more when we get this next month's set of solicits, when we get 3 and 4.
To May, I know, but I'm a little miffed that they're even considering using that as a selling tactic. It's I'm kind of tired of it. If that makes, I'm just tired of it.
I'm tired of using negative sales tactics to try to drum up discussion and debate and interest. To me, the strength of the story, and I feel like that for the most part, Beyond has done a very good job, and of just presenting the story as it is and going from there, and making things seem interesting. I am very cautiously optimistic with Wells, because I feel like he has grown significantly as a writer. Going back and listening to the old episodes of CSC, I had a lot of heavy criticism for early Todd DeZago work in the Clone Saga. But if you listen to me later, when I'm talking about, especially when Mike Ringo comes in, his best friend, as the regular artist on Sensational, Todd DeZago's work, I think, took a marked improvement. And I think it's because he grew into the role of writer. So I honestly think that Zeb Wells being involved with the Beyond Corporation storyline, I think that there's going to be hopefully some elements of this storyline that carries over. And one of those things I hope to see is the characterization of Black Cat, the characterization of MJ. I don't understand why we have to sit there and have the breaking up of the couple. Again, until I read the actual issues, we'll see. It just honestly seems disingenuous after all the positivity that you have developed within the fan base of having the two characters together, now breaking them up for what seems to be arbitrary reasons because your plot is driving the story, where the characters are not driving the plot. The plot's driving the characters. And that's my biggest concern for the Wells administration, so to speak, is the characters driving the plot, and I feel like that the characters have been driving this plot very well. Even Queen Goblin, on the surface level, seems absurd with Ashley Kafka being in the driver's seat, but behind that character, but it's Ashley Kafka taken up to a 12, and sprinkled in what if she got given that very goblin formula that she was trying to psychoanalyze out of people like Harry Osborn. It's a very much taking Ashley Kafka and flipping her on her head and having her show her worst impulses as a character. So it's interesting to me. But even so, no, Vinkman, I don't mean that.
Yes, go, Vinkman.
Vinkman's gonna
spread the word of Gabi Mommy.
So I honestly think that we're getting to a point. And again, we got 4 issues. I'm highly anticipating what these 4 issues are going to be. It just sucks that we're going to have to pay, for a double-sized issue. Once again, we're going to have now 3 double-sized issues within 4 months of each other. 5 months of each other, which is really annoying. Because they're going to do the double-sized, triple-sized issue for 900. Everybody should know that. Like,
have you ever read comics before?
Yeah, exactly.
God, I wish I couldn't read.
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, it's like par for the course, man. I mean, I'm just like, it's one of those things where, I said on our my podcast yesterday, our video show with Adam, I said that comics are unique in the art community, in my opinion, monthly comics anyway, because it is very much like the artist. It's a medium of art. But it's also, or an art medium, whatever. But it's also that whole blue collar. You have to get it done, and it's like that. It's that whole idea of a bricklayer. He may not be like this beautiful job he'll do, but he'll get the job done. That's what you need him to do, right? He'll come in to work 9 to 5, pour it down, and go to the next one. And that's kind of what comics are. But you have to be creative. So there's like this really weird dynamic of a very consistent workmanship with this creative thing behind it. And it's a hard thing to balance, because for anyone who's been creative in anything, being creative is not something you can just turn on a light switch. And if you can, you're probably freaking a millionaire because you're, creative ideas or whatever. But, I think with comics, it's just, this is all stuff par for the course. It's just reality. And you have to kind of understand, like, okay, to get to that point, you got to get to this point. And I don't hold that against it, because it's all going somewhere. And I feel like with 4 issues left, maybe it won't nail it. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I just kind of feel the way it's been headed. It feels like we're going the right direction, but I've been wrong, because I thought Nick Spencer's run was going to end well. And it
was a fart.
It was a hard one.
Yeah, that.
But no one could have predicted that. I mean, in 5, 10 years, we're going to get the real story about that. And I think we all would agree it's probably not, it's probably not a good thing behind the scenes, I imagine.
We'll see if we get the story. I don't know.
I almost confident we will.
If Nick Spencer wants to tell his story, unfiltered, unstopped, uncapped.
He's got an entire platform to do it called maybe you've heard of it. It's very niche.
And once.
Yeah, so niche that no one has used it. I have not heard anyone use it like ever.
I couldn't see someone like Grant Morrison ever using it.
Dude, but honestly, like, I don't like. I legitimately, I'm not even trying to be funny here. I'm like, legitimately, like, do people even use it? Like, I don't. Substack.
Well, I mean,
or Substack.
I mean, fracking billionaires, maybe, but
like, I mean, wasn't it Coates or Cates and freaking what's his name putting on put a new comic out, and like all these other people.
I read the preview, it was utter trash.
I mean, like, Substack, like, what is it? There's no promotion of it. Like, there's nothing. There's no promotion.
Well, you see, I can here's a promotion. That's your promotion for that's your promotion for Substack.
Yeah. So
weird.
We're almost to the 2-hour mark, and we went a little long this episode.
That's my fault. Sorry.
No. It's just because we spent 45 minutes talking about various other things, but
we wasted time talking about Amazon for you.
Yeah, well, we're trying to.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So once again, I want to let everybody know about our Patreon page at patreon.com. So give a big thanks, shout out again to our patrons, Vigman, Scott, Greg, and Jurgen. Their support is invaluable to us here at Spideydude.com. If you want to get these episodes a little bit earlier, you can always become a Patreon member. But if you want to get the voices from the Eerie the Gargoyles podcast, they usually come out a week earlier than everybody else. So if you want to get early access to those particular shows, you can definitely go to patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We also got coming in March, we'll have the ASM Classic show that will be coming early to patreon.com/Spideydude Network as well. And then, of course, we've got our other great things. You can always follow us on Twitter at Spideydude Radio, at Spideydude Network on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, leave us a like, a share, and subscribe at Spideydude Radio Network on YouTube. And if you want your voice to be heard on this show or Clone Saga Chronicles, give us a shout out on our voicemail line, 818-925-6631. That's 818-925-6631 for the voicemail line. Leave us a voicemail. We will play that voicemail on a future episode of the Spideydude Experience. Once again, I am Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster, your friendly neighborhood host. And I am signing off on this particular edition of Spideydude Experience, but be sure to check out our other great shows, such as Make Mine Mayday, where next episode of when we're recording this, we're going to be building towards issue 100, issues 93 through 97. Really excited about that. Where I get to talk about the Scryers, and you get to hear me give a Reader's Digest version of that. You also got ASM Classics. The first season is all up on Spidey-Dude.com and your favorite podcast catcher. Voices from the Eerie just had an episode starring me. That's right. If you want to hear me talk about the first 5-part pilot episode, you can always listen to Voices from the Eerie Gargoyles podcast. And of course, we have all the spectacular radio up on the Spideydude Radio Network. So I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host, and I'm wishing you a very good night and good luck. And we'll see you next time here on the Spideydude Radio Network.